So today I'm going to show you my young sweet crabapple Malus coronaria grove. This grove is to create seed in the future, which hopefully I can distribute to everyone at a very cheap price. These are about 3 years old. Malus coronaria used to be a plant that grew in prairies, savannas, and open woodlands. We've lost most of those habitats over the past 150 years, and then invasive plants have also taken a lot of ground from where these thicket species would grow. So these are a native apple. All crab apples are true apples. They're the same genus as all apples, Malus. These two over here I got from a nursery to diversify the genetics. I left the cages off them for one night when I first planted them, so I was going to do the cages the next day, and deer came and stripped most of the leaves, but they've recovered. But that just shows how you really need these welded wire cages when trying to establish native trees and shrubs. This is the biggest one, and the biggest one was transplanted from a natural population. It was a sucker from one on a private client's property in Mount Airy, Cincinnati, Ohio. And this one has grown 5 times faster as the others. Part of that is when you transplant a sucker from the wild, it already has fungal associations specific to its species associated with its roots, whereas these were grown in nurseries, and you can see how much smaller they are, and that's likely because it doesn't have a fungal connection that's very specific with that species. Eventually the roots of the big one will spread throughout this mulch bed and quote unquote infect the other native crab apples with the fungi and hopefully pick up their growth rate. And on this side we have American hazelnuts. In residential settings, don't expect to get nuts. Squirrels and chipmunks and birds are going to get them all. But if you can plant American hazelnut out in an open field, chipmunks and squirrels do not venture out into open fields. It's too dangerous for them. Birds of prey, foxes, coyotes can chase them down in open fields. So if you're lucky enough to have open land away from forest, then you probably can get a ton of hazelnuts able to harvest. Now this sweet crabapple, the top died from cedar apple rust. Cedar apple rust is a disease from quote unquote the old world, Europe and or Asia, and it was brought here, and now it infects eastern red cedars, which create this type of fungal gall. It's not a true gall, but this fungal growth that releases spores and infects hawthorns, serviceberries, and crab apples. And that's another reason why these native crab apples need your help, because they're under attack by a non-native disease, cedar apple rust. And what we do is in the spring we use this fungicide called Immunux, and this is pretty much necessary if you're going to do native crabapple, native hawthorn restoration. To get them started and established, the first few years you're going to have to treat them, and you treat them right when the buds are starting to open once, and then 2 weeks later you treat the new leaves, and then 2 weeks later you treat the new leaves again. And then as you can see, with just 3 applications, there is no orange spots on the leaves, and the cedar apple rust is absent. And you can even start to see insects using the new leaves, which is a good sign that the fungicide hasn't made the leaves too toxic for native insects to use. And I think that's all I can fit into this 5-minute video about sweet crab apples and American hazelnuts, 2 former prairie savanna thicket species.